All right, let's talk about practice problems. Pregnant pause. Yes, practice problems in children learning music. So, for those who don't know, my name is Melanie Biggins, and I help children learn how to play a musical instrument so well that they earn college scholarships. As a matter of fact, if you have a beginner sitting in that house on the YouTube, on the Fortnite, and the Roblox, you need to give me that baby so I can teach that child how to read music, play their instrument, and perform a home concert for you in less than 30 days. So, let's get into it. Practice problems in children learning music. There's nothing more frustrating as a parent seeing your child struggle and you have no way of helping them, particularly if you're a parent that doesn't have any music experience. However, I want to be able to isolate some practice problems that children do, so when it shows up, you know what it is. It's that, number one, practice problems are common. Practice problems do happen. However, practice problems are not permanent. They're blips. They are, it's a child is trying to learn their winning formula of how to accomplish a task, because music takes more than just recall. And we'll talk about that in other videos. But particularly with this practice problem, I want to talk about several things in practice. And the first one I want to talk about is avoidance in practice. Do you have a child that does this? When it's time to practice, they'll say, well, I'll get to it later. And you trust them because you're a good parent. You're a good parent and you believe your child, right? But later comes and it never happens. When you say, hey, did you practice today? And it's like, yeah, I got started on it, but I'm gonna get to it later tonight. And tonight comes and it never happens. And then guess what? You know what? Your lesson's coming up. Let's go ahead and get started in practice. Yeah, I got it. We still have 3 days, Mom. We have 3 days, Dad. And that time never comes. And then the night before, sometimes 2 hours before the lesson, you see your child trying to cram it all in, hoping that the instructor doesn't tell, or the instructor doesn't see that you just literally crammed everything in to potentially hope that you actually applied the skill throughout the week, right? That's avoidance. Now, avoidance shows up passively or aggressively. Sometimes that what I was talking about was a passive avoidance. It's like, it's more conversational. You as a parent, you got a lot going on. You have work, you're managing the house, maybe you may be managing other children. You have things going on. So when you're asking your child, did you practice? And your child says, I'm going to get to it. You believe they're going to get to it. Or you may be that mom or dad that's like, okay, when are you going to get to it? We'll talk about that too. And the child says, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and never happens. Or you say, well, the child says, well, I'll practice in 3 hours. Let's practice after dinner. After dinner comes and the child says, I got a stomach ache. Something like that, Or it could be like an aggressive avoidance where it's just like, I'm just not going to do it. That's more so under willful defiance. We'll talk about that in another video. But if your child is dealing with avoidance, here's some things that you can implement in that practice problem so you can really try to get to the root cause of why the child is avoiding practice. Number one, be clear on the time and date of the practice session. So in my videos, I talk about how long should a child practice, and I never really give you an answer. The reason why is because sometimes children run the clock. If I say you need to practice 30 minutes a day, if I'm a child and I just want to get it off my plate, I'm going to play around for 28 minutes, practice for 2, and say it's done. That's not practice. So we'll talk about that later. But when I say be clear about when the child is practicing, I'm talking about a date, a time, an area, and an intention for that practice. If you're not isolating those things into those 4 little quadrants, then your child's going to find that loophole to get out of exactly what they're supposed to do. So with that being said, if you have a child that's struggling with avoidance and practice problems, you want to go ahead and download my Master Musicians roadmap. And in that roadmap, I really talk about the pathway of a child learning music and ways that you can help a child not only overcome that avoidance, but really understand the why behind practice. Because a lot of times if the child doesn't know why, they won't do it. So with that said, that is my first video on parent problems, practice problems in children learning music. That is avoidance. I'll talk to you soon.